A rosette is the decorative ring around the sound hole. Traditionally, it is made by the luthier and is an opportunity for the maker to show off his craftsmanship. It can be quite ornate and decorative, or simple, depending on the maker's taste and design ideas for that particular instrument. A traditional classical rosette is made from a variety of small pieces of wood into what is known as a tile. These are then placed in a circle and surrounded by a series of decorative rings or purflings. A steel string rosette usually has just a series of rings or circles made from solid wood, purflings, or even shell like abalone or pearl. Regardless of the design and materials used in your rosette, it has to be installed in the soundboard around the sound hole. There are a number of ways to do this. A simple but effective way of doing this is by using the LMI circle cutter. This is a jig with a pin at the center point and a sharp blade. Moving the jig around the circle, making cuts, allows you to easily remove the soundboard material with a chisel. This method is very cost-effective, precise, and much easier than it might appear to be. The rosette then can be easily inlaid into this channel you have made. There is also a variety of jigs that accept power tools to make the rosette channel. All of them work on the same principle of a pin for the pivot point with a blade or bit to make the cut. These jigs range from the basic Volkswagen model up to the Rolls-Royce model, depending on how much you want to spend. Some tips when using the power tool version is to use a spiral downcut bit to help prevent chip out. Another tip is to apply a light coat of shellac to the area of the soundboard where the rosette will be installed. This helps prevent or reduce chip out and makes glue cleanup easier later. Whether using the manual LMI circle cutter or a powered version, the installation method is the same. Start by measuring the inside and outside diameters of the rosette you want to install and mark these on the soundboard. Set the depth of the tool you are using to cut the channel to match the thickness of your rosette. I like to begin with a small test cut and check the depth again to make sure I am indeed at the correct depth. I prefer to install the rosette flush with the soundboard, or a microskosh proud. Since you will be removing the tool often during the cutting process, if you tape the edges of the soundboard down, it will be much easier to find the hole in the workboard again if the indexing pin happens to slip out of the hole. Always make sure you are within the inside and outside diameters of the rosette when making the first cut. This can require a little skill depending on how wide your rosette design is. Always begin and end your cut on the fretboard end of the rosette. If you make a mistake, it will be covered by the fretboard. Continue making passes with the tool until you sneak up on either the inside or outside diameter. It doesn't matter which one you do first. Check with your rosette to make sure you have the correct diameter. Then continue making passes with the tool until you sneak up on the other diameter. Go slow, taking a small cut with each pass as you get closer to your final diameter. Check the rosette for fit, and if necessary, fine-tune the cut until the rosette fits the channel with no gaps. In a perfect world, the rosette would be perfectly round and slide into the channel with no problems. However, as luthiers, we know that the rosette is usually not perfectly round. Here is a trick you can do to help the rosette slide into the channel in areas where it is a bit tight. Using a ruler or even a chisel, run it along the edge of the channel against the end grain and lightly compress the fibers in the areas the rosette is just a bit tight. Make sure you are going out of the grain and not into it. Also make sure the channel wall stays at a 90-degree angle. You could also lightly scrape the rosette in those same areas. Sometimes it is also necessary to trim the ends of the rosette where they come together under the fretboard so that it fits into the channel in this area. If you did everything correctly, the rosette should fit snugly into the channel with no gaps. When gluing the rosette, you must work quickly as the moisture in the glue can swell the fibers of the soundboard, thus making the channel tighter. This could work to your advantage if you had any small gaps. Lightly moistening the entire area with a damp rag also helps close up any minute gaps, as well as clean up any glue squeeze out. Make sure that you place a piece of wax paper or plastic between the rosette and the clamping caul before applying clamping pressure. After appropriate cure time, you have a rosette neatly installed in your soundboard. When installing an abalone rosette, you will need to fit the pieces as you go. This means adjusting the ends of each piece so that they fit together as closely as possible. This is done by filing or sanding the ends of each abalone piece. This could be very time-consuming with a lot of trial and error until you get the ends of the abalone pieces as tight as possible. However, the end result can be quite impressive. Depending on the glue you use to glue in the pieces, you will need to seal the entire channel so that the glue doesn't stain the soundboard. If you want to speed the process up a bit, you could try a new product called Zip Flex. This is small pieces of abalone or pearl sandwiched between black purflings. This makes the piece flexible, which in turn makes it much easier to install than individual pieces. If you are on a schedule, then perhaps you should consider this product. It also works well for purflings in binding channels. So, as you can see, designing, making, and installing a rosette can be a very complicated process. However, it can also be a very impressive part of your finished guitar. For inspiration in designing your rosette, please enjoy the following series of pictures of rosettes from luthiers around the world. Thanks to everyone for graciously allowing me to use these pictures, and happy building!